Hello, you're watching Talking Europe. I'm France 24's Europe editor, Catherine Nicholson. Now, on the programme today, we have the European Commissioner for Economy and a former Prime Minister of Italy up until June 2018, Paolo Gentiloni. Thank you very much for being our guest on Talking Europe.
Thank you and good morning.
Now, we're talking a lot at the moment about the coronavirus pandemic and the economic hit from that, of course, continuing to worry European leaders. Just a reminder for our viewers, in June, the International Monetary Fund forecasts that the euro area's GDP is likely to drop by 10% across the year 2020. And with that in mind, Europeans are waiting for a €750 billion recovery fund to go into action. So, Mr. Gentiloni, this €750 billion COVID recovery plan, it was agreed amid a marathon session at the European Council, but time is passing. It has been reported that some ambassadors are saying the fund won't actually be operational by January 1st as planned because of disagreements over governance of this money. When do you anticipate this fund will be operational?
Well, indeed, I'm confident that what we are working for, which is to have these national plans of recovery approved before April next year, this schedule can be kept. And this means that the entire European EU budget will be in place at the beginning of next year. Of course, there is a lot of diplomatic and political activity among member states with the parliament, but indeed the decision that has been taken already had, in my view, very positive and important effects, because the fact that we decided to issue a common debt for a common purpose was very helpful also to stabilize financial market and to try to restore confidence, because this is the problem of the weeks we are in. Confidence and uncertainty, fighting each other. Will uncertainty prevail? This will mean that our recovery will be slower and more difficult. So install confidence is very important, and this is the reason why we have to be very, very active to not only decide but implement the decision that we have taken for the recovery fund.
And looking more broadly at the European Union budget overall, it was also agreed at the summit to have new conditions on member states receiving EU funds based on whether or not they're adhering to their rule of law commitments in the EU. Now, Hungary and Poland, we know, are particularly opposed to this conditionality. They actually called for one of your Commission colleagues to be fired this week over her comments about corruption in Hungary. Will this rule of law conditionality on EU funds actually come into being?
Well, you know, the rule of law is not an optional in the European Union. It's the Article 2 of our treaties. We are respecting the rule of law, the autonomy of judiciary, the citizens' rights, minority rights, and this is true for all member states. If we have problems in these sectors, not in one or other countries, but all over Europe, we have to intervene. And it is absolutely understandable that the Parliament is strongly asking that this intervention is serious and also connected to the funding.
So you believe
I don't think that this will create...
You do believe that this rule of law conditionality will come in?
That we cannot... Yes, it is. Of course, it will be introduced with a compromise, as always in the European behavior. But I think that the German compromise that could be even strengthened is already a very good basis. And it was approved on Monday, the German proposal.
Now, back in March, the EU member states agreed that they would suspend what's known as the Stability and Growth Pact. Just for our viewers, it's a set of rules that they all agreed on to limit deficits, for example, to try and maintain sound public finances in the EU. Now, French public debt is soaring, same for Italy, other countries. When do you plan to reintroduce the Stability and Growth Pact, Mr. Gentiloni?
Well, all debt are soaring. Our forecast is that the euro area will, at the end, have a level of debt this year over 100%, maybe 102, 104% on average. So we decided to suspend the procedures of this Stability and Growth Pact, our fiscal rules, and we confirmed to member states that this suspension will remain in place all the year 2021. And then I think we will use next year to discuss how to go back to our fiscal rules. And for sure, we can't go back automatically to the same rules that we had. I'm not saying that we have to change our treaties because it will be a very, very long and complicated process, but we can keep the treaties and change, make more reasonable, gradual, and differentiated the path to reach our fiscal goals, and especially introduce new rules also to strengthen our capacity of investments for the climate transition. This, I think, is strongly needed, and we will discuss it next year.
Also on the horizon, the UK fully exiting its transition period out of the EU. Now, at the time of recording, negotiations over this future relationship between the EU and the United Kingdom have not come to a conclusion. Are you, as Economy Commissioner, preparing for a no-deal situation on January the 1st?
Of course, we are still working in completely good faith to try to reach a deal. This has always been the attitude of the European Union. We stay to our withdrawal agreement, and we regret the fact that this withdrawal agreement is not completely respected by the internal market bill that was introduced in Britain recently. But of course, we are also preparing in the case of a no deal. We are strengthening our borders authority, especially in France, and we are preparing to manage the more difficult issue that will be to avoid a hard border in the island between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. This will be politically, and I would say also historically, a very big challenge.
Well, you mentioned the Internal Markets Bill, which the UK government is trying to bring into law. It would allow them to override parts of the withdrawal agreement, as we mentioned. Now, the European Commission has written to the UK government in the last couple of days, starting formal legal proceedings over this law. Do you expect that the UK will withdraw those provisions from the bill?
Well, I expect that the UK government is interested and committed to find a deal. And I will keep this conviction until the very end of this process. And if there is a will to reach a deal, you can't consider the withdrawal agreement that we signed as something that is that you can overrule with an internal non-agreed decision.
Well, at the same time, the British government says, sorry if I may, the British government...
servanda.
The British government, though, says that leaving the EU was all about regaining sovereignty and that these provisions in the Internal Markets Bill protect the UK's sovereignty over where goods go around the actual United Kingdom.
But we are not discussing this opinion and opinions. We are discussing on a legal basis the fact that we can't accept unilateral decisions breaking a bilateral international agreement.
So with all of this in mind, the EU obviously still working towards a trade deal with the UK, as you said. But can the EU have faith in its trade deal if the UK is still pushing ahead with this internal markets bill? Do you trust the UK?
I think that a certain degree of trust should be rebuilt. But at the end, I think that there is a so clear common interest to reach a deal. And I have to say, maybe especially in the UK side, there is an interest to reach a deal, that I hope that this is still possible. We are working for this. And of course, if we reach a deal, the internal market bill will change.
All right, Paolo Gentiloni, we will have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time speaking to us here on Talking Europe.
Thank you.
Thanks to you as well for watching. See you soon for more from Talking Europe.